Sonic Adventure 2 was originally released on the Dreamcast in 2001 and later that same year on the GameCube. It is by all definitions the most iconic Sonic game ever made. I know people who aren't super into the franchise that have, at the very least, watched someone play this game. And if that doesn't convince you of its iconic status, don't worry, maybe the fact that the recent movie was just a straight-up adaptation of the game will. This was my favorite scene from the game. I'm so glad it made it in. Sonic Adventure 2 is a juggernaut in the eyes of millennials and Gen Zers everywhere, but it's honestly hard to tell you why. It's not exactly the most well-made game in the series, there's jank aplenty, the voice acting is certainly voice acting.
Maybe Eggman took the emeralds into outer space. Outer space?
And it was absolutely brought up in negative light by bad faith YouTubers that are mad people like this fast blue rodent for some reason.
Sonic was never good.
Oops! Regardless of all that, it is still looked back on with a lot of fondness, and in this video, I'm going to explore why. I'll be spoiling a bit of the plot, so if you haven't played this 25-year-old game, God, I'm old! This is your cue to jump off, but for the rest of us, let's begin talking about Sonic Adventure 2 by going back to Sonic Adventure 1. Yeah, did you know Sonic Adventure 2 was a sequel? This is known by far less people than you'd think. It's statistically so. Look it up. I'm a math. This game is often overshadowed by its younger brother, and while there are aspects where I do prefer Adventure 1, I can totally understand why this happened. The game is very janky in areas, and while the platforming is mostly enjoyable, some characters you need to play as are less platforming focused than others, and this is where the game tends to lose people. I don't know, I guess people don't like fishing trips in the middle of their platforming journey. I still think it's a fun game, but that's just me. Adventure 1 is interesting in that it's the first Sonic game to have a large focus on the story. There's cutscenes aplenty across the 6 main campaigns, and the last story segment that's become tradition for the series after this. However, I wouldn't call Adventure 1's story particularly deep. It's more on the level of a Saturday morning cartoon, and none of the characters are particularly complex. That is, except for one. And this character's arc is important to go over before we go into Adventure 2, so stay with me. E-102 Gamma is a robot built by series antagonist Dr. Robotnik, and yes, I call him Robotnik because I'm an ignorant American, sorry. Look, this is one of the few things I have pride in with my country, let me have this. Anywho, you spend the first half of Gamma's campaign doing various evil deeds for the Doctor, such as capturing amphibians, killing your brother, and being taller than all the NPCs in the hub world, truly the devil incarnate. However, it's through a chance encounter with the character Amy Rose that Gamma decides to go against his programming and fight against Robotnik instead, culminating into a final battle that ends with Gamma sacrificing his life for the greater good. If you've only ever played Adventure 2 and didn't know anything about Adventure 1's story, what I just said probably sounded familiar to you because, yes, this idea of a villain who later redeems himself and sacrifices himself would be used for Adventure 2's most notable new addition, Shadow the Hedgehog. I don't think it's any exaggeration to say that Shadow is a big reason why this game stands out to a lot of people. Similar to Gamma, Shadow is a creation of Robotnik, but not Ivo, the villain of the series, his grandfather, Gerald. He spends most of the game enacting an evil scheme, however, after a chance encounter with Amy, Shadow decides to fight against what he was made to do, ultimately ending in him sacrificing himself for the greater good. So there's definitely many similarities between the two characters, but the big difference is how they go about it. For one thing, Gamma is a robot, so the presentation of his arc is told in a very cold and methodical way. The character doesn't necessarily feel anything, but his programming is able to help him justify what he does. Shadow, on the other hand, is a living creature. He may have been created by scientists, but he is a biological life form, and a lot of what he does is determined by the character's emotions, and more importantly, his connection with the young human girl, Maria. So, Maria was the granddaughter to Shadow's creator, Gerald, and while we don't see a lot of scenes between the two in Adventure 2 alone, there's enough there to help an audience understand that the two are close. So close that when the military raided the Ark and killed Maria, Shadow didn't take it too well.
Revenge!
So yes, while his actions are evil, his motivations make him genuinely sympathetic, to the point where his turn to the light is ultimately a very satisfying moment in the character's arc. Now, this ain't Shakespeare, Sonic Adventure 2's story ain't that deep, and yes, there are certainly moments you can argue are a bit contrived, but I don't think that takes away from the narrative strength of this arc. Heck, when Sonic the Hedgehog 3 adapted the story, they kept most of it intact, only really making changes to accommodate the absence of key characters like Amy and Rouge, as well as the expanded role of Gerald. It's clear that the story hits for a lot of people, and is a big reason for Adventure 2's success. The story in general is a lot darker than what you'd expect from Sonic at the time, and honestly even now. It's not one of the darkest games ever made. The plot is still the cheesiest thing since actual cheese. But I think that helps the heavier moments involving Shadow, Maria, and Gerald stand out a bit more. I mean, this is a game with child murder happening right in front of you. It has a bit more edge than you probably expect. While later Sonic games that went for darker tones have often resulted in either joyless experiences, or way too edgy ones to the point of being iconic, Adventure 2's story works because of this balance between cheese and drama, and I'd say the story is good because of it. It's not one of the greatest video game stories ever made, and there are certainly some weird moments, like how the characters are constantly confusing Sonic and Shadow for each other, despite the two looking nothing alike, but it's still very entertaining and, for the time, a very interesting direction for the series that was still trying to figure out how a story with these characters would even work. I mean, do you want to try writing something with these guys? Because I don't. But a good story doesn't matter much if the gameplay isn't fun, so let's take a look. Now, Sonic Adventure 1 had 6 playable characters, each with their own story and gameplay styles. Adventure 2 has 6 playable characters as well, but they're divided into 2 stories with 3 gameplay styles. Sonic and Shadow are speed characters, who do what you expect in a Sonic game. Knuckles and Rouge are treasure hunting characters, whose stages involve looking for 3 MacGuffins. And Tails and Eggman are mech shooter characters, whose stages involve blowing a bunch of stuff up. These characters not only share gameplay styles, but they are also each other's rivals, who will fight each other in occasional boss fights. And real talk, this is why Tails isn't a mech in this game. I know plenty of people complain that he's not flying around like he normally does, and apparently these stages are bad because of it, but it was obviously done to better complement the gameplay and rival system. Robotnik is in a mech, so Tails must also be in one. And it makes perfect sense given that the character is a mechanic and a pilot. But oh darn, you have one game without Tails doing his thing. Guess you're gonna have to start! Oh yeah, and each story has its own driving segment. You drive through the hero one as Tails and the villain one as Rouge. And you'll be driving through the lovely Route 280. Do you want to avoid the traffic, get to work on time, go through Route 280? The only cost will be a road with pitfalls in it, cars that will rear-end you into the ocean, and of course, a car that controls like booty. All 3 stage types have some solid levels, and even if you're not a fan of a specific gameplay type, you're not usually doing one for 2 levels in a row. Now, the general consensus among some reviews is that while Sonic and Shadow stages are fine, the mech and treasure hunting stages aren't. I can kinda understand that for the mechs, as while they're fine for doing your usual brap brap pew pew, they kinda stumble on platforming. That said, Cosmic Wall is an outstanding level with incredible music, and I will not hear any arguments to the contrary. And speaking of contrary, I will absolutely go up to bat for the treasure hunting stages, because they are fun actually, and y'all are just mean. Sure, the radar only detects 1 emerald at a time, unlike Adventure 1, but A, the levels are made specifically for exploring every nook and cranny, so it's not that bad, and 2, if you manage to find an emerald that the radar isn't detecting, you can still collect it, and the game will reward you for it. I swear, the number of reviews I've seen that are like, oh, there's an emerald right here, but the radar won't detect it unless I go grab the other one. You can collect it! Just quit crying and grab it! Sorry, just bitterness. Jazzy! Oh no! It's future Jazzy! What are you doing here? I went back in time to tell you how you forgot to talk about the bosses in your initial run of the script, and everyone hated it. Wow, thank you, future Jazzy. I don't know why I couldn't have just edited it into the script, but I'm glad you told me. Thank you. This was a necessary skit. The bosses in Adventure 2 are fine. They're not really anything special, all things considered. The bigger bosses have very obvious weak points and clear patterns to exploit, while the rival battles are often just mindless slap fights that go on until someone wins. I still enjoy them, but they're not the greatest bosses in the world. The only one that gave me much trouble was the penultimate fight of the game, Bio-Lizard. And that's just because of this part where you gotta homing attack the evil gumballs of doom, and it's very annoying. Either your homing attack aims far from where you are trying to go, or one of the aforementioned gumballs hits you in the face in the middle of your chain. It's annoying and is easily the hardest boss in the game. Anyway, that's all I have to say about the bosses. Thank you, future Jazzy. You've done your country proud. Now, not every level in this game is great. While I like the treasure hunting stages, I will admit Mad Space is a bit of a mess, largely due to the controls suddenly not working properly when anti-gravity enters the equation. But most of the levels for all 3 playstyles are still very fun. They're designed to play a bit more into spectacle and action, but those who enjoy exploring the levels to find hidden goodies will find a lot to enjoy here. Oftentimes, taking a detour and going off the beaten path in any level will reward you with an extra life, or if you're revisiting a level, you may end up finding an upgrade that was inaccessible before. Yes, Sonic Adventure 2 has upgrades for the characters. Some are very easy to find and are required to beat certain levels, but others require you to either search around a bit or come back when you have another upgrade that can grant you access to it. As a small example, the first level in the Dark Side story has an upgrade that you can collect, but it's hidden behind a stack of steel crates that you can't blast through. However, later in the game, you'll get an upgrade specifically made to destroy destroy said crates, so you come back, do the level again, and bam bam thank you ma'am, you can go and destroy the crates and get the upgrades. Good, new upgrade for you, have a cookie. Each level, with the exception of Cannon's Core, the final level of the game, has an upgrade to find. So if you go through it the first time and didn't find one, maybe consider coming back later and giving it a proper look around. Although, I'm gonna go ahead and throw you a bone and make your life so much easier. As soon as you enter the Knuckles level Aquatic Mine, go look for the Air Necklace upgrade. I know it might seem useless at first considering there's no underwater sections for the rest of the hero story as Knuckles, but trust me, this thing is a godsend. Knuckles' section in the final level is mostly underwater, and I quite like being able to play it without hearing the theme music to my anxiety. But man, when the levels are good, they're downright excellent. General rule of thumb is that the Sonic and Shadow stages are all extremely fun to play, with some personal highlights for me being Radical Highway, Metal Harbor, both characters' jungle stages, both their final stages, and of course, the level, the myth, the legend, City Escape. I think if there's one thing we can all agree on, it's that this stage is amazing. Heck, this music is amazing. And that segues perfectly into the game's presentation. Sonic Adventure 2's soundtrack is an absolute god-tier collection of music that I really love. One thing that makes the soundtrack so good and varied is how every character has kind of their own vibe of music or genre or... okay, look, I'm not a music girly. I don't know how to describe what I'm trying to portray here, but let's just say while Sonic stages are kind of like these rock pieces that get you hyped up and ready to speed through, something like Shadows will lean a bit more into a metal sound. The most memorable tracks in this regard are Knuckles' stages. All of them are raps and they're absolute ear candy. But I also gotta love the vocal tracks that play during Rouge's stage, and honestly, I quite prefer them. I swear, I wouldn't love this character as much if it weren't for the music that plays in her stages. Just saying. Similar to Adventure 1, all the characters have their own vocal themes that play during specific cutscenes in the game. While the hero characters all have new versions of their themes from Adventure 1, the Dark Side characters have their own new themes. Throw It All Away for Shadow, Eggman for, well, take a guess, and my personal favorite, Flying the Freedom for Rouge. Again, all the music attached to this character is amazing, just saying. But of course, I need to give mention to the two big boys in the soundtrack, the first being Escape from the City, the theme that plays during the City Escape stage. Seeing as this is likely the first level in the game you will play, the game decided to grace your ears from the word go and give you one of the catchiest stage themes ever. Ask anyone who grew up playing video games in the early 2000s, and we can sing this song on command. It's the law, probably. And of course, you have the main theme of the game and the song that plays during the final boss, Live and Learn by Crush 40. I don't need to tell you that this theme is amazing. You already know it, and if you somehow haven't listened to it, do your ears a favor and do so now. I mean, they use it in the movie. What else is there to say? Look at it. Listen to it, I mean. I don't know what I'm talking about. Unfortunately, I can't really say the same for other aspects of the presentation. While the visuals aren't nearly as dated as Adventure 1, it has certainly shown its age, with rather stiff character animations and CGI cutscenes with characters that I think are human, but I'm not sure. What doesn't help is the audio mixing, which is just flat out bad. Music overpowers the voice acting, and at many points, the characters rather infamously talk over each other.
I think you're the fake hedgehog around here. You're comparing yourself to me? Huh. You're not even good enough to be
I'll
my
make you
friend.
eat those words.
I think he was trying to say something.
The voice acting isn't great. In fact, it's quite bad at times. Tails and Rouge sound so robotic that I'm half expecting them to start condescendingly telling me why modern literature is full of degeneracy.
This place was shut down about 50 years ago.
However, once the game story is over, there's still plenty to do. Sonic Adventure 2 has a lot of post-game stuff, and if you plan on experiencing all of it, best of luck. Each level has a few different missions to complete for extra emblems, and an additional emblem that you earn for A ranking all of them. Most of these are just the same missions again and again, but some offer good challenges. If you get all the emblems, you unlock a fully playable 3D version of Green Hill Zone. That's neat, I've never done this, I value my life. However, if collecting extra emblems isn't your cup of tea, Adventure 2 has a couple more extras worth sinking your teeth into. One is the multiplayer, where you and a friend can battle each other in a speed stage, mech shootout, or treasure hunt. These are fun, and if you have the GameCube version, all the characters are unlocked from the word go. So, have fun playing Neon Sega Genesis Ciao Evangelion. What did I even write there? However, if you don't want to battle your friends, perhaps you want to try your hand at raising a child, and for that, you have the Chow Garden, a side game brought over from Adventure 1 that anyone who played these games back in the day poured hours into, sometimes more than the main game. I know who you are. Truth be told, I don't spend a lot of time in the Chow Garden beyond hatching a Chow, naming, and petting them, but from what I've seen, Adventure 2's Chow Garden is super intricate with a lot of cool stuff that you can do if virtual pets are to your liking. So go nuts, take care of your child, and raise him to be Chow Satan, the ultimate athlete who takes no prisoners. So why does Sonic Adventure 2 still appeal to people all these years later despite its issues? Could it be nostalgia? Probably. But I also think its unique aspects allow for players to overlook the jank that permeates the entire game and enjoy it as a whole. Gameplay-wise, there's plenty of fun to be had, and the story, while nothing great, is extremely entertaining. Add on some great music and plenty of stuff to do after the credits roll, and you have a game that my generation will never shut up about. Especially after we got that movie. Regardless of your thoughts, there is no denying that Sonic Adventure 2 is an iconic game in the Blue Blur's long and very inconsistent legacy. But what do you think about Sonic Adventure 2? Do you see it as worthy of its iconic status, or is it overhyped garbage? And if this video was entertaining, feel free to like, subscribe, and have yourself a lovely day.